On July 22nd, it would be officially announced that YNW Melly's trial is declared a mistrial, as 100,000 live people would watch the judge share this.
And ladies and gentlemen, received a juror inquiry form. It indicates that after further discussions, reviewing the evidence and speaking freely amongst the jurors, we are still unable to reach a unanimous decision. So at this time, what I'm going to do is just declare a mistrial because it was mistrial. And again, I want to thank you very much for your time and attention. It's very much appreciated. You're free to go. Thank you, ladies.
However, with everyone watching the live stream, not many people noticed that YNW Bortlen would tweet at the exact same time. As a report would share, YNW Bortlen tweets a mysterious message on the same day YNW Melly's mistrial was declared, where the tweet shares, "Mind games don't work on people like me," alongside a handshake emoji, almost like he's agreeing to some sort of deal. Now, during the entire YNW Melly trial, his lawyers were playing mind games with the jury, hinting towards Bortlen being the guilty one. And now with Bortlen subtweeting the mind games phrase, it really makes you start to wonder what he's hinting towards. Now, the opening statement to the jury on day 1 of Melly's trial, his lawyer stated publicly that Bortlen is the one that had powder residue on his hands, which is very common after using a firearm.
Evan's lies, those were his lies. Cortland Henry shows up at Memorial Hospital, Miramar. You don't see him sitting there, but where you will see him sitting is in the driver's seat of a car with 2 bodies, car riddled with bullets. And when he shows up with a change of clothing, change of shirt, powder residue on his hands, evidencing that he had discharged a firearm. And he lies. He lies about where the incident occurred. He lies about how it occurred. And he lies about not having a phone. I think it was Miss Bradley herself who said, everybody has a phone in his pocket, not Cortland Henry. There were 3 phones.
YNW Melly's own lawyer revealed to the jury that YNW Bortlen also lied to the feds on the day of the crime. He's also the one that had powder residue on his hands, and he is the one that was last with Juvie and Satchaser when they sadly passed. He would even reveal YNW Bortlen's interview with the feds, where he was caught lying to them during the investigation.
And I'm driving, ducking for my life, trying to make sure I don't get hit. And you telling me, you telling me about shit. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to make sure I don't get hit. I'm driving. I'm trying to make sure I don't get hit. You know what I'm saying? What I'm gonna be worried about? You know what I'm saying?
I know it's not for you to worry about.
Shit crazy, bro.
But if you tell me it happened there's gotta be some evidence there. There's gonna be broken glass, just like there's broken glass over here from when you guys open the doors and stuff like that. Okay, there's gonna be broken glass over there when the windows got out. There's going to be casings from the people at your car. Okay, there's going to be evidence over there. Okay, right now there's nothing. I kind of think I know what happened because I got information.
This wouldn't even be the end of Bortlen's evidence getting brought up in YNW Melly's trial either. We would even see another forensic scientist that covered the passings go into further detail of Bortlen having the powder residue on his hands.
So the right hand of Cortland Henry contained 0 particles characteristic of shot residue and 2 component particles. And the left hand contained 1 particle characteristic of shot residue and 1 2-component particle.
Okay. And can you explain to us what that means?
Basically, overall, there was shot residue present on the hands.
YNW Melly's team would continue like this throughout the entire trial. YNW Bortlen might not have any other option but to snitch on YNW Melly. We would then even see YNW Bortlen being brought into the courtroom during Melly's trial, while he was given his own trial date.
Cortland Henry?
Yes, sir. He's present.
That you in the back of the
status conference.
Come on up.
I guess you're already trial code second right now. We're set for October 3rd. for trial.
You had a motion pending as well?
Yes, Judge. As the court, when we were here the last time, you let him go to church and stuff, you said about working, you would be subject to seeing his schedule. We filed a schedule for the next couple of months.
I saw that.
Be able to work. And I talked to his probation supervisor. She has no problem with him at all. She said that if he's gonna go to work, she'd like anybody has to do, provide an itinerary, where he's gonna be, how he's gonna get there, how it's gonna get done.
It's obvious that YNW Melly's lawyers know that making Bortlen look like a suspect is a good way to make YNW Melly look innocent, which is something they had to do, as ever since the beginning in 2018, the feds already believed YNW Melly was the guilty one, as lawyers would reveal why YNW Bortlen received bond, but not Melly.
And he was able to negotiate a bond for him because of the charges that he was charged with, because they felt that he wasn't the man, and because of his prior criminal history, which I think was very sparse. So all those things went into whether or not he was going to be given a bond. I think at the time that the bond was being argued, there was the evidence that was being presented at his bond hearing was very difficult to kind of gel together in terms of, as you've seen during the trial, right? So there's a lot of things that are going on in the trial that you're like, wait a minute, this doesn't really gel. Some things are out of whack. And that's what happens at an Arthur hearing when you're moving for bond on this type of charge.
Lawyers just revealed that ever since the beginning, the feds believed YNW Bortlen was the innocent one, meanwhile YNW Melly was the guilty. However, this is when the lawyers answered a very important question.
Is it too late for Cortland to plea?
No, I don't think it's too late. It's never too late. I've had individuals been offered pleas but turned them down in the middle of trial. I've had people offered pleas before a verdict came back. So it just depends on the case, depends on the prosecutor, depends on the actual charges. So no, it's never too late for that. He could take a plea in the middle of his case. I don't think that would happen. If he was going to take a plea, if there was going to be a deal, it would be in the middle of Melly's case.
Ever since YNW Melly was originally locked up in 2018, it has been the YNW group's main priority to make Melly look innocent, as even in the new lawsuit against YNW Melly, it reads, Defendant 100K Track assisted Melly and Bortlen with the collection and disposal of the firearm that was used in the crime. Now, if this is true, 100K Track disposing of the firearm, it makes the interview he did with DJ Academics feel very odd.
He built a real great solid team away from just being innocent because he wouldn't do such a crime. He prepared himself and got a proper, defense. Their job is to handle themselves in trial, not on social media. You guys are taking it that way. If they say they got DNA in a car, I'm just gonna tell you, Melly DNA was found in the car. You're gonna think, yeah, his DNA was found in the car the day of the. Oh, he jumped in a car and his DNA was in the car. He did it, okay? But you're not gonna put the fact that this was his car for 6-7 months on those documents and dockets and just automatically be like, yo, he's fried. You don't even know what the defense is. You don't even know what the rebuttal is. You don't even know why that situation occurred. You hear ballistics flying, you don't know what the defense is. You hear this, you hear that, you get what I'm saying?
I'm gonna be honest.
As 100K Track stated years ago, YNW Melly has great defenses on his side, which is obviously true if he disposed of the firearm and he knew it all along. Even YNW Melly's reaction to hearing no firearm in the trial was a little weird.
Why not?
So the first thing is I didn't have a firearm, so I can't know which firearm I'm going to use in order to replicate any of my tests. So I can't make tests for this determination because I don't know what was used.
Okay. Do you have a...
However, this doesn't change anything for YNW Bortlen, but it makes YNW Melly look innocent. They have not done anything to make YNW Bortlen look innocent in the slightest. However, this is where it would all change, as YNW Juvie's best friend Trayvon Glass would take the stand during trial. Mind you, Trayvon was not a friend of Melly, he was a best friend of YNW Juvie, as Melly's lawyers would even argue that the prosecution are putting Juvie's friend on the stand with zero reasoning, as Melly knew this was not going to end well, which is why he looks at his lawyer very strange.
On the stand is knowingly, Judge. They knew in the deposition, 1, 2, they knew when I put him on notice with my motion. So they had the opportunity after the deposition to, after my motion pointing out we violated the rule of sequestration, just not to call them. They, however, are going to continue to proceed knowing he has violated the rule and put him on the stand. So yes, when we look at it that way, the state may be acting inappropriately.
As Trayvon was at the recording studio on that night, his job was to clarify if there was any tension between Melly, Sackchaser, and Juvie on the night of the crime. However, he answered a very serious question that affected YNW Melly in the end slightly, which goes to read, Melly's friend confirms that Melly changed clothing at Fredo Bang's house on the night of the crime.
Okay. Was that the first time you saw Melly after you guys left the studio?
Yeah.
Was Melly wearing the same clothes or different clothes than when you saw him at the studio?
It was a new bit. Nah, he wasn't.
Nah, he wasn't. You guys
Wasn't wearing the same clothes.
Okay. Do you recall what he was wearing?
Just had on some shorts.
And
However, after Trayvon's testimony, YNW Melly's lawyers would continue to go all out, getting YNW Melly his mistrial, meaning they shared enough evidence to prove that it wasn't Melly, at least to that jury pool, as the mistrial was likely granted on the closing day of the trial, where YNW Melly's lawyer was screaming over the fact that the jury had to make a decision on Melly's life with such little evidence.
And tell him that he's going to live life in the state penitentiary without parole or being on row. This is the investigation they want you to rely upon and say it's proof beyond and to the exclusion of every reasonable doubt? I guess so, according to them.
YNW Melly's lawyer would continue on being mad inside of the courtroom. His next argument would be on the original crime documents. It states that it was a drive-by, yet the police never even looked at the surrounding store's surveillance cameras to see any cars that were driving in the area and then to investigate the license plate.
That he doesn't go to the on Miramar Parkway to check their surveillance tape. He doesn't go to Applebee's to check their surveillance tape. He doesn't go to Polo Tropical or the gas station or the bank on Miramar Parkway to check their surveillance tapes. When the car's on 184th Avenue, he doesn't go to the fire station to check their tapes, surveillance tapes. Doesn't go back to the two elementary schools, Sunset Lakes and West Broward Elementary, to check their surveillance tape because he knows it all. He knows it. How do you know it if you don't check?
Which is a very fair point and is likely what led to the mistrial. This proves very sloppy police work and just zero effort by the feds, alongside the amazing testimony from Melly's 6th grade best friend, who revealed that Melly wasn't even at the crime scene.
Are you 100% sure that Melly got into the red Mitsubishi to go home?
Yes.
Are you 100% sure that this young man learned of his friends at the exact same time you learned of it?
Yes.
And that was at the house?
Yes.
Are you 100% sure that when people were getting on the phone, that this young man was looking for his phone to call people?
Yes.
As that is Adrian Davis, Melly's 6th grade best friend. He would even double down his claims of Melly not being there, sharing that Melly was picked up by the YNW members that were driving in the red vehicle that was parked beside Melly's Jeep at the recording studio. They picked up YNW Melly halfway home as they needed somebody with house keys to let them in.
Okay, so the only two people you know who had a key to the house was this young man.
Yes.
And Cortland Henry.
Yes.
Did you see this young man unlock the door of the house?
Yes.
Who was the last person to get out of the red Mitsubishi to go inside the house?
Trayvon. He was in the cot still asleep.
Did you see where Melly went?
To his room.
And where was his bedroom?
When you first walked in the house, you can't miss it. It's right down the left.
Okay. This is a 1 or 2 story house?
2.
As Anthony Davis claims that he watched YNW Melly walk to the front door, open the door, and then walk straight to his bedroom to go to sleep. Then while sleeping for roughly an hour or 2, the members in the YNW crib would begin screaming, yelling for everyone to wake up as they just learned what happened to Sack Chaser and Juvie on the news.
Did there come a time in the early morning hours that you were woken up and heard some distressing news?
Yes.
What did you hear?
That Sack and Juvie was shot.
When you heard that, did you see Melly in the house?
Yes.
Did you see Melly how he was dressed in the house?
Yes.
What was he wearing?
Shorts and a t-shirt, I think.
Now this all raises the question of, can YNW Bortlen afford YNW Melly's lawyers? Because Sergeant Williams showed great evidence proving the crime could not have been a drive-by.
Assignment, which is to determine if this is a drive. And my determination was that this is not a drive-by, and it's based upon this picture here, which is a very good picture to describe it. All of these rounds are done. One is done at a stationary position. The at a stationary position when all but one of these rounds are going in. The one round that has some movement in it, which is round site L here, the actually moving in that to create the little bit of a that you see there.
Okay, a lot of information in that answer, so let's break it down a little bit. You mentioned so I'm gonna zoom in on site F.
As Sergeant Williams took note of every single hole that was inside of the vehicle and then used what is called the stick method to find out how the holes were created, including the direction of where it could have came from. All angles showed that the crime must have happened from inside of the vehicle.
Number, you said 17 outside the car. How many rounds were inside of the car?
3.
And can you exclude the for Mr. Williams and Mr. Thomas as coming from outside of the car?
Yes. From the driver's side back seat.
As to the shot that Christopher Thomas, where did that emanate from?
Driver's side back seat.
Oh. Is it possible for there to have been 2 inside that car?
No.
Why not?
There is no time.
As this reveals the crime must have happened from inside of the vehicle, with impressive lawyer work by YNW Melly's lawyer somehow making him look innocent even with that evidence. So with the jury believing Melly could be innocent, it really makes you wonder what YNW Bortlen is going to do in the end.